Our next focus is laying out the patterns of this mandala and using our flowers as inspiration. So the first thing that I did, of course, was take my largest circle and create the outer circle. I then took the next size plate in this case, and I created my middle circle, and I took a small circle and created the center circle. So for demonstration purposes, I have done this in a dark pencil, whereas in the actual one which I'm going to be working on and in your mandala, I really would highly recommend that you use a very faint pencil line so that you don't see this dark pencil coming through. And I do want to highly recommend for teachers that you give the learners pencils just to start with, possibly just to lay out the very basic part of the mandala, and then literally take the pencils away, because young people tend to like to want to be right and they want to control it, and so they'll spend ages trying to get it perfect and rubbing out and creating a piece that is eventually overworked and basically lacking life. Excuse me. So for this particular mandala, as I said, take your time to make it really light and really faint and get it something that's going to be subtle and beautiful. So my next step was basically to decide which flower I was going to have in the center, and I chose the poppy, and I looked at it very carefully, and I then drew the overlapping petals. Obviously one wouldn't necessarily see the overlap in real life, but we're creating repeated patterns here. And then I drew the center bit, and following that I then took the small sunflower as my next inspiration, and I did the 5 petals that are coming outwards in my mandala, keeping in mind that the idea of this particular video is repeated patterns and shapes, and we are teaching learners and teaching ourselves to create balance within this particular mandala. So the petals need to be equidistant, more or less. Mine is certainly not perfect, but more or less equidistant, the same distance between petals. And the next step I recommend that you actually do purely with your brush and your colors. I have done it in pencil just so that you can see what I'm doing, but basically I took the various flowers that inspired me, this one for the outer circle, and I used these foldy lines to create the next shape, the next pattern for this particular concentric circle going around. And I overlapped them because the colors overlapping are going to create different shades to create beauty within your mandala. I then took my nasturtium flower and I created another shaped petal, which again is overlapped. If you can start in the middle of each particular area, you know that you're going to get somewhat of a balance in each section. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but more or less we are creating balance. So that gives you an idea of how to start. Yours certainly doesn't have to look like this. You may do more concentric circles, you may do less. You may decide to have 6 or 8 petals, or none of these petals, just the circles. So whatever's speaking to you today as to how to lay out your mandala. The next step is going to be starting with the color. And again, I'm going to recreate this for the purpose of this video and show you how I'm going to work with the colors in each particular section with very, very light pencil marks. So enjoy creating your mandala, and I will be back again in a moment.